Okay, in this last video, I'm going to show you just two more functions, net present value and IRR. So you've already looked at net present value function when we were doing the present value of few uneven cash flows, but there are some tweaks here. So let me show you. Again, we can set it up. So what is the year? What is the cash flow for that year? And let's say my R is somewhere here. Okay, so we have year 0, 1, 2, and 3. And the first, in year 0, we will be spending $165,000. We will get these cash flows in next 3 years. Okay, and we are trying to find out the net present value. So again, we don't have to do it one by one because we have a function called net present value, which I showed you before. Okay, so it would ask what is the rate. So we could write 0.12 like that, or we could refer it to that input area wherever interest rate is mentioned, and comma, and then we could put in the value. So the only thing that you have to remember is that when it says value 1, this is the value at time period 1. So even though it's called the net present value formula, it doesn't allow you to subtract the cost that we are incurring in time period 0. So we have to do that separately or manually. So we could just use the values of 1, which is the cash flow 1. So again, my cash flow 1, 2, and 3 are given in C8 to C10 and the parentheses. And then we are saying we should have subtracted $165,000 to get the net present value. So for this, I want to subtract this, but we've already put in as a negative value. So the idea is I'm going to just say plus, but we are actually subtracting it, if you can think of it, right? So that is the net present value of 12,627. So just to show you, this is the correct answer. Okay, incorrect if you had done it using equals net present value, and you said my rate is in cells D5 and all the values of the cash flows are here. This is incorrect because now it assumes that your investment of $165,000 is at time period 1 because that's taking as value 1. So make sure that you don't do that mistake. So another thing what I'm going to show you is that this is same as, if you would have done it in 2 steps. So you could have first said what is my, in fact, if you remember for profitability index, we have to do that. We find out the net present value of the future cash flows, okay, like we did that. And so that's the present value of the future cash flows. And when I subtract the initial investment, and I'm subtracting 165,000, and that gives me the net present value. So with this allows us, if we do it in 2 steps, we could also calculate the profitability index, PI, which is the present value of the future cash flows divided by the initial investment. And since I have it, I could say $165,000, or I could refer it to the cell, but then because I have it at as a negative value, to nullify that negative sign, I added a minus next to it. So that's what basically it is giving me. And those are exactly the same answer. It's 1.08. So for every dollar that we are investing, we are getting 8 cents more for that. And the net present value is positive 12,627.41. So we will accept the project. So that's net present value. The last one that we have here is IRR. So we need to set up cash flows just like that. So I'm going to copy. In fact, we don't need R. So all we need is these 3. So instead of typing it again, I'm just going to copy here. So these are our cash flow. And then we can say equals IRR. That's the function that we have. Start the parentheses. And now it says values. So now we can select all the values. This time this function takes care of the fact that your first cash flow is negative at time period 0, but NPV does not, unfortunately. So that's it. You just select all the values, including the negative cash flow at time period 0, and the parentheses, enter, and it will tell you that your internal rate of return is 16.13%, and we will accept the project because it is because the IRR is greater than the required rate of return of 12%. And that is all the time value of money function that we wanted to cover. So if you have any questions, send me an email. Otherwise, you're all set to work on the project that I have posted on my courses.